hopefully we should be live. So hopefully everyone can see and hear us. So, hey Diana, hey Greg, hey Susan, hey Moon, hey Amna. I'm sure there'll be more people along momentarily as well. Hey Jackson. So everyone's just sort of coming in. Hey UK Exotics, hey Loose Week. Hope everyone is doing well this evening. So, hey Vivian. So tonight we're joined by a good friend of mine, Greg Dickens, and a friend of my works as well. Some of you, if perhaps watched me for a while, may recognise Greg. He's been on before, probably about a year ago, I think, probably. So, but yeah, it's great to have you back on. So, for anyone who doesn't, perhaps didn't see that stream, do you want to give yourself a quick introduction into sort of who you are and what you do?
Certainly. Hello, everybody. I'm Greg. I'm originally a veterinary surgeon with other degrees, because collecting degrees is what you do when you have too much time. I now work in medical technology, but I spend a lot of my time taking photos of bugs, running a very small bug charity called Bug Spaces, and as Phil mentioned, occasionally showing up at Shepworth to talk bugs, either with Phil or at Phil.
Yep, that's it. UK Exotics got some African black millipedes today. That's awesome species. Hey, John. so yeah. Well, how did you? What got you interested in veterinary to begin with? I suppose.
Well, that's the easier question to answer. I always wanted to own a zoo, right? I thought I should be thorough. And then I realized that to do that, you've got to be loaded, and I was never going to be loaded. And then I thought, well, somebody else with sway in a zoo is the vet. That turns out not to be as true as I thought it was. I worked at a couple of zoos. I did a little bit of time at North Carolina State Zoo, which was fun. And then I was head vet at a monkey and chimp sanctuary in Cameroon and Nigeria for a little while. And the vet doesn't actually get that much sway, which is kind of sad. Anyway, Ebola and Boko Haram arrived at the same time, so I kind of left Nigeria, left Cameroon, came back to the UK, and have been doing other less kind of clinical things since then.
Yep, that's good. Then, so Leah, what about then inverts? How did you get into the inverts?
See, this is the thing, right? I kind of think that everybody's into inverts, and then they get it beaten out of them.
I feel I'd agree with that.
Yeah, us lucky few who don't have it knocked out of us as kids, and I feel very lucky that I was raised by people who either showed no visible fear or were actually actively interested in crawly things. And I had my kind of childish love of bugs left intact.
Yeah, no, I think I'd agree with that. Hey, Craig, whenever I've done like bug hunts, here in the park and stuff, kids love finding woodlice, love a woodlouse. Sort of, a kid finds a ice pod, fantastic day, and well, for me that still sticks and stuff. If I find a nice pod, I love it. Yeah, and you do see it, and sometimes, parents, if the kids are fascinated in the inverts, sometimes the parents being like, "Oh no, you don't want to see those. You don't want to see those. Come away from those and stuff," which is a real shame.
Animals. Let's go see the real animals. No, nonsense. It's not a real animal if it doesn't have an exoskeleton. To my mind, I'm sorry, people who like the squishy ones, but for me, it's all about the crunchy ones.
That's cool. Leah, showing up on my phone, but not on StreamYard. I don't know what exactly they do to hearts, but there's stuff coming up on my phone.
Nice to know we're getting them. That's very kind.
So that's great. So yeah, and you sort of come to the park quite regularly to sort of various things, sort of invertebrate, especially native invertebrates as well and stuff. Had my colleague Adam on recently talking about some of the conservation work he's doing up in Scotland with the native inverts up there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes most of pretty much everyone in chat keeps exotic invertebrates, but sometimes we forget about the native ones, sometimes which are just as fantastic and sometimes look just as exotic as the exotic ones, sort of thing. Do you have perhaps a couple of examples of ones that perhaps people may not know about that we should go and look at? Hey, Kathy.
I mean, sure. There are the famous examples of exotic looking UK inverts, right? Everybody on this chat especially will have heard of the ladybird spider, right?
I hope so.
Phenomenal red creature with fantastic little black dots. And then there's the darker form as well, and there's the sexual dimorphism, and they're just stunning. And then we also have two species of bioluminescent earthworm in the country, one native, one introduced from South America, which that's tropical weirdness. That shouldn't be here, but it is. But for me, there are two things that people should go and have a look at if they want to see tropical beauty in a very familiar shape. One is the common grasshopper. Well, it's the common grasshopper that can throw an absolutely bright pink form, which I think is spectacular. It's not like the sort of pink you expect. It is. Hang on. It is this color, right? Absolute nonsense color. So yeah, go and have a look for those when you have time to lie on your front in a grass meadow, an older grass meadow specifically. And the other one is the violet ground beetle.
Yeah, stunning.
Yeah, specifically violaceus, not specifically violaceus, not problematicus. It's just this gorgeous, almost magenta purple, and they're big too. They're an inch long. Well worth staring at. And if you want to see one close up, have a look on my Instagram. There's I think, if I say so myself, moderately good picture of one.
And I will pop your Instagram into the chat, so for people to go over, there are some fantastic photos on there. Hey Anton, hey Scott. Anton, I think he recognises you from an animal TV program. That's an interesting one.
I mean, you don't. I wish you did, but you don't. I have not done any animal TV other than very small broadcasts in the US about specific lakes, which basically nobody saw, and that's fine. I do a lot of talking about bugs on the internet, so you may have seen me there. Maybe it's just my face. I have a very average face.
Maybe you think, I don't know, Nick Baker maybe with a beard, maybe. Perhaps.
I got mistaken for Andy Carroll a lot when I had longer hair.
Hey, Moon. So there you go. That was a good one. And another thing you mentioned is you got this sort of charity called Bug Spaces, which is obviously primarily about, I'm guessing, about native inverts and stuff. Is that what do you do with Bug Spaces? Hey,
yeah, the core of Bug Spaces is kind of what's in the name, really. You and the rest of the people here will be well aware that we have trashed our invert biodiversity and just the kind of number of inverts in the country. It kicked off just after during the Second World War with the kind of mandate to clear meadows and wild areas and turn them into productive farmland to try and save lives, which is all very noble. And that wasn't reversed after the end of the war, so that kind of stayed as is. And then the introduction of more and more effective pesticides, meaning that they had that double whammy of habitat loss and poisoning. Now, hopefully, regulation will cover the pesticide side of things. It won't, but we can all hope it will. The other thing we can do, though, is to try and give them a little bit of habitat back. And they don't need much. It's much more about the network effect of having bits of habitat close enough together. So my bug spaces thing is just about trying to recommend everybody just leave a meter squared, a couple of square meters, just a corner of their garden, balcony, roof, park, school car park, whatever. Completely wild. Just leave it alone. Don't plant anything. Don't weed it. Just leave it alone. Which means a lot to local wildlife populations.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that, you know, things like Bug Life also recommend, and a lot of people nowadays recommend leaving just a small patch of your garden, or like I say, if you got, you know, a balcony, have a window box that just, you know, goes wild kind of thing. And we kind of forget the importance of stinging nettles and how important stinging nettles are to a lot of our insects, especially like butterflies. Everyone loves a butterfly, but then we hate stinging nettles. And we kind of can't have both of, you know, you can't have one without the other a lot of the time.
Yeah, so, I've got 3 small children who know very well that you don't go behind the pond, because you go behind the pond, you're going to get stung, because that's our designated stinging nettle area. Yeah. Unfortunately, I've had to, we also have 2 rabbits, which means in order to have a wild meadowy bit, I've had to fence off part of the garden. And it's not a very big garden, so you have to dodge the ponds and the wild bit and try not to tread on the rabbit if you want to exist in the garden as a human. But hey, I feel like we rule the rest of the planet, so maybe being very comfortable everywhere is a bit too much to ask.
That's it. Hey, Philip. So, and so as part of that, you sort of have done various sort of challenges. And you set yourself some pretty extreme ones to raise awareness as well as money for conservation and stuff. And one was where you sort of basically continuous movement, wasn't it? For how many hours was it?
Well, the aim was just as many as I could handle. I've started almost every answer so far with, as everybody knows. I'm going to stop saying that, right? Listeners, I know you are knowledgeable people, and I will patronize you 1 or 2 times, and I apologize for that. It's just I don't really know where to start my answers, so just bear with me. Right. Neonicotinoids, especially on hymenopterans, lead to, on almost everything, lead to a kind of hyperexcitability at a very, very low dose. Anything higher, you get instant nervous system shutdown and death. But a very, very, very low dose, you get kind of a hyperexcitation, shaking, and in the case of hive bees and hive wasps, basically forgetting their way home. So they go and 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 they forget their way home, and they go and go and go and go, and then they die of exhaustion, which is a horrible way to die. I thought I would try and publicize this fact a little by doing a sponsored walk/cycle/crawl, where the game was just, I'm not allowed to go home. I just have to keep moving. I'm not allowed to stop at all. And I get sponsored by the amount of time I keep moving. Luckily for me, a bunch of my friends don't know how bloody minded I am, which is good. One of them tried to be really clever and offered me an exponential reward where I would get more per hour than I did the hour before. She made a horrible mistake, because 68 hours later, I was still going, and she owed me 400 quid, which I did not collect on because I'm not a demon. But yeah, in the end, we raised just over 8 grand. I say we because I was doing the whole thing, but throughout the journey, various other conservationists, local figures were joining me for an hour or 2 to kind of walk and talk and be interviewed. We interviewed the masters of some of the Cambridge colleges. We interviewed a couple of local zoologists and conservationists. I actually did a talk at Shepworth. Walking up and down the stage so that I didn't stop moving. That was on day 3, so I was pretty gone by then. Phil, I have no idea. Were you in the audience?
I was there.
Was I making any sense?
Yes, he was. He was making sense. But, good.
No, that was
there's quite a couple of times where you almost sort of die, and he's like, "Oh no, I need to keep moving, need to keep moving."
Yeah. Well, it unfortunately, I got caught in a thunderstorm. Got very, very wet, and I just paused to put new shoes on, and I fell asleep. So about 20 minutes later, when I came around, I thought, well, I'm soaking, I'm freezing, I'm going to go home. But that was enough to make it onto the local radio and into a couple of papers, which was good.
And it is, as well as raising a really good amount of money for the cause, that does help raise awareness of it, because it's not something that we're always aware of, even in the invert community and stuff, of what neonicotinoids do, and necessarily what pesticides do to the animals and stuff. Like we get all these various sprays from supermarkets and stuff. And it's such commonplace sort of thing sometimes that almost so many households have, and we don't always realise just what they actually do. And when you break it down, you go, actually, that's really not nice.
Yeah, it's not just an effective way to kill a lot of animals. It's also a pretty horrible way to die. And one thing that my veterinary education has taught me is that people really struggle to value suffering, or at least evaluate suffering, when the further away you move from a human, right? And that's biological, that's understandable. The fact that we are monkeys, and if we look at a monkey suffering, we go, oh, that monkey's suffering. And then you move a bit further away to, say, a cow, and you think, I think it's suffering, probably suffering, we should look after it. By the time you're out at a fish, people don't care. And if you go all the way out of the vertebrates completely to an octopus or a bee, not only do they not care, they don't want to try to care. And you have to work hard to get people to notice. But one thing that is very useful is to frame it as the further away, the less intelligent, the fewer neurons a brain has, the less it's able to cope. It's not about the less it can feel pain, it's the less it's able to deal with that pain. And as soon as you understand that, people start to pay attention to the suffering of inverts.
That's it. Cheers, Craig. Craig's just become a channel member. Oh no, he's been a channel member for a month. Awesome, Craig. And Steve's also been a member for a month as well. That's awesome. Cheers, guys. And these things are, I think, really important to try and highlight something that, as you know, I do at my work and stuff with to sort of bug talk every day and try and highlight sort of invert conservation, because at the end of the day, if we lose the inverts, well, that's pretty much everything gone. We will be in real bad way if we lose the inverts. And sometimes the focus can be on the wrong inverts. Sometimes, what I want to touch on is obviously bees. Bees in general, not in a good way, but so often people think, oh, I'm going to protect the bees, I'm going to get a hive and keep some honeybees.
Yep.
And that I'm going to be doing conservation. And it really isn't.
Yeah. I think you know that I feel this way, Phil. But if you keep honeybees, you're not a conservationist, you're a farmer, right? Honeybees were introduced to the UK, admittedly, a long time ago, but they are not native, and they compete with our native species very effectively, especially if they are artificially supported through hard times when the rest of the bees are working their asses off just to stay alive. I keep bees here. We have 12 species, probably 5,000 or 6,000 individuals, and not a honeybee in sight. This means I don't get any honey, but who gives a damn? If I want honey, I can go and buy honey. What I get instead is so much more pollination per bee than I would get if I had honeybees, and that nice warm glowy feeling of knowing I'm doing some good rather than creating sandwich filling based on environmental pain.
That's it. And and there's, we always think, when we hear bee, we tend to think, oh, there's a bumblebee or the honeybee, but there's so many species out there. far more than what we think. Oh, cheers, Jackson. Jackson's right. It's just become a new member. So, and so, just in bumblebees, we only normally people think that there's a bumblebee, just one species, but there's quite a number of different species of bumblebee, isn't there?
There are, and if by bumblebees we're talking the fuzzy small hive bees, then there must be, I don't know, 20, 30 different types. There are 276 or 274, if you agree with some people, species of bee native to the UK, or at least species of bee in the UK, of which the vast majority are solitary mining bees. Then you've got solitary boring bees, and then you've got the hive bees. And I think they're all fantastic. Big fan of all of them. Any wasp that can grow feathers is fine by me. But yeah, maybe if we weren't also madly in love with Apis mellifera, that would be better for bees in general.
That's it. No, definitely. So Economics, he's actually asked, how do you support native bees in the UK? He also likes getting fresh honey that doesn't have filler or lice effects in it.
Yeah, no, that's a fair shout. I apologize if I have sounded anti-beekeeper. I'm only anti-beekeepers who think they're conservationists.
Yeah.
Again, maybe there are beekeepers who are conservationists. What I mean is I'm anti the idea of beekeeping being seen as conservationism. Right. With that said, supporting native bees is easy. Giving them a wide range of nectar-producing plants. If you're interested in which ones to do, the Asteraceae, specifically dandelions and knapweed, have a massive nectar load per floor area, and they have a very long flowering season. The other thing you can do is leave standing dead wood, especially if it's got beetle holes in it. If you don't have standing dead wood with beetle holes in it, drill some holes in a piece of wood. Make sure the mouths of the holes are kind of sanded and clean. Leave the wood attached to something vertical between 1 and 6 feet off the floor in a south-facing location, and you will be overrun with native bees before you can get upset that you're not.
Yeah, I think it's again, we tend to be too tidy in our gardens often. I mean, it's leave a few weeds growing around. Like dandelions are fantastic, and I think they're actually really beautiful because they're bright yellow. We like daffodils because they're bright yellow. So why don't we like dandelions when they're bright yellow? So, and they feed a lot of our pollinators. So, Steve thought, bee-friendly plants in the garden and stuff. Greg said he doesn't farm himself.
But his mate does.
2 hives and feeds off the sinks tree sap, so that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I think supporting solitary bees is a cool thing to do, and I think anybody who does it is a cool person. But there are some excellent bee farmers out there too.
Yeah, Lucian's important. Loves their solitary bee boxes. Wonderful seeing the tiny bees going in and out of the tubes. Plus, some peas and pansies. Love having them around.
It's true.
Absolutely.
If you are going to do this, I've got to recommend having a bunch of holes that are about 3 mil, maybe even 2 mil, because you'll end up with harebell bees and other little tiny sweat bees. The UK has some absolutely adorable little tiny black bees, which are, I don't know, that big. Some of them have a little white furry face. They've all got big black shiny eyes. They're absolutely adorable. But you don't see them very often because we treat wood so effectively nowadays that boring beetles cannot leave little holes. You know, the old woodworm damage thing that was big until the 80s when we started really pressure treating wood. Was where these things used to live. And they use wax as well. So you see these little wax closed holes. That's them. So if you are going to build a solitary bee thing, and I recommend you do, use a very small drill bit. at least a few times because these are beautiful bees. I love that cricket. That's a good background. Every time I'm talking, it's like, oh.
Yeah, they'll have to get drill out and set up macro lens camera for this year. That'd be cool to see. Greg's actually on one occasion he's seen a blue bee in his area. Would this be native or an introduced species?
Well, that depends what you mean by blue. The UK has carpenter bees on occasion. Violet carpenter bees are a kind of bluey purple and have metallic wings, which is kind of cool. If you mean a more grey blue, there's a grey blue ashy mining bee, which is closer to grey than to blue. If it's neither of these, I don't know where it's come from. There's a beautiful metallic blue African bee that I've photographed before. I don't know if it ever comes over here. I'm also glad that I found out who the Greg is everybody's talking about. Hi.
Yeah, no, Greg's awesome. Greg. Hey, Russell. Hey, Rosanna. Love.
Steve, you can also feed dandelion leaves to children. I do that quite a lot.
They're edible for us. My granddad used to swear by dandelion sandwiches.
Yeah, they are. Once you got your tongue in, so they are great. It does take a couple of days of going, I'm not sure if I like this, but you get there.
So Leah is actually, and this is something I want to touch on as well. It says she needs more bees and wasps. The wasps take the cabbage white caterpillars away. The wasps then pick them off and fly away. And wasps is something as well. Obviously, we tend to, hark on about the bees and we love the bees and stuff as we should. And then everyone hates wasps. Can you give people a reason to love wasps?
I can give people 100 reasons to love wasps, but I'm going to start with 3 reasons. 1, as you have just said, they cut away a lot of herbivorous bugs that compete with us for food. It's estimated that in the UK, yellow jackets alone, which is the big yellow buzzy jobs that sting you, remove 140 tons of caterpillars, etc., from UK crops every year. 140 tons sounds like a lot, but when you compare it to all the UK crops, it's not that much. The thing is, they're not the only wasps doing this. We have, again, depending on who you believe, somewhere between 12 and 20,000 species of wasp around, which is mad. I think that's a European number. The UK will be fewer. But that's lots. And so many of them kill caterpillars that it seems almost unfair. Okay, so that's 1. Better veg, cheaper veg, nicer veg. Second, they are spectacular communicators. That living in a hive isn't just a bee thing. This whole dancing to communicate isn't just a bee thing. This whole helping the queen do her job and guiding them around the hive and hormonally communicating where a great place to lay an egg is. That's not just a bee thing. That's a wasp thing too. Okay, so if you're interested in animal behavior and animal communication and hive mind, wasps, very cool. And the third thing is they're just very, very pretty. We try not to let them get too close to our eyes because they sting. But if you ever do, the 7 species of yellow jacket wasp we have in the country are all beautiful in slightly different ways. And a bunch of the others are ridiculous colors. Cuckoo wasps are range between a kind of mad cerulean blue, metallic sparkly green bits with brilliant ruby pink bits. Again, all metallic and sparkly. And they go all the way to kind of bottle green with bright yellow dots. So yeah, wasps are stunning. And yeah, they sting. I got stung on the nipple by one last year. But cats scratch and dogs bite, and we love them anyway.
Yeah, and that's it. And as they say, if you stand still, they just go away. The thing which is, there's someone just kind of interested in you, want to see what you're about, see if you got some food on you, and stuff, whether it be some protein or some sugar. And so, and sometimes if you just leave a little bit to one side, they'll go to that rather than interrupt your barbecue picnic or whatever.
I was talking to one of your colleagues about wasps recently, fellas. I think you probably know. And one thing that she hadn't really thought about before was the fact that wasps only come to our barbecues. Wasps only come to our picnics because we have left them so little natural environment to get their own food. They wouldn't risk their lives and taunt animals 1,000 times bigger than they are if they had any other choice.
That's it.
They don't.
And so and that's completely it. And that's why, me and a friend of mine, we go to a festival every summer, and we'll be the only people that perhaps be sitting down with whatever meal we decide to get from one of the vendors that will have some wasps around us and allow them to be around us, because we'll just set some food aside to one side, and so that can be their food. Once they've had their fill, they're off. So, people are like, "Oh, well, are you doing that?" And like, yeah, because then and there, and they're not bothering us. They're not bothering with our little bit. We're not having to wave them off our food because they got their bit. They'll stay there.
Yeah,
and the thing.
It's done very effectively at restaurants. Oh, this is the wasps table. They've ordered the fish.
That's it. Oh, it's all right. So, yeah, there's this poor. She's been stung about 5 times by wasps and bees. It doesn't bother her at all anymore. And the thing, it's been a long time since I was last stung. You do sort of get used to it. You get I get stung by stinging nettles all the time, and to the point where I don't really feel stinging nettles anymore.
Yeah.
So, going around traveling for brab or for sick insects and stuff, you're going to get stung by stinging nettles at some point.
If you're expecting it and you know what it's like, it's really not so bad. But for me, I go long enough in between being stung by an insect that each time it is a surprise. And that's one of the major reasons I will never keep a centipede, Phil, as you know.
Centipedes are fantastic. You're missing out.
Oh no, they're fantastic. I get it. They're beautiful. They are spectacular, and they're ancient, and they're so well adapted. And I'm never going to keep them. And yeah, I completely agree, Greg.
Yeah, Greg. Yeah, then Tron's come up with quite a good one. So Tron's in Norway. That's a really, really good question here. What is position on artificial crossings of species such as killer bees?
That's an interesting ethical minefield just there. Thank you so much. Giving me the chance to embarrass myself on a podcast. Okay. On an individual level, I don't think that any individual animal should be treated badly because of what it is. I think that GMOs and non-GMOs have just as much right to have a dignified and pleasant life and death. However, I think that artificial hybrids, whether they are accidental or deliberate, are a bad idea almost every time. And if they can be allowed to go extinct without necessarily torturing them with neonicotinoids, I think that might be a good thing. That said, if we are at the situation with climate change and environmental degradation where non-messed with animals can no longer survive, we have reached a horrible tipping point in parts of the US now where there is just so much environmental contamination that non-GMO plants just can't hack it, for example. If we're at that stage, then I think having a component of an ecosystem is better than having no component of an ecosystem. So yeah, how's that for a carefully worded answer? If I haven't addressed your question, please ask it a different way.
I think it's a difficult one to necessarily be like completely for or against them. Really, it's a real quandary one. stuff. Yeah, they just said that she cried when she was last stung. She found the bee, gave it some water, it flew off. She doesn't know if it was okay afterwards.
Yeah, it's very sad. Although I don't think that was the Greg. I don't think I'm the Greg that was being addressed. The sadness of bees having barbed stings ripping out their guts when they sting is an interesting one. I don't really understand the game theory behind making stinging a fatal act. I think wasps have it a little bit more sensibly, where they're allowed to sting a lot more times and therefore do sting a lot more times. Seems better for nest defense, but there must be some evolutionary advantage to it.
That's it. Ooh. So, as we're going to go into is basically what you're going to be doing, which I think everyone's going to think is absolutely awesome, but also completely crazy.
This thing here,
that thing there behind you, and stuff of where because you don't live that far away from me.
Yeah,
obviously in the UK, but you're going to be swapping the UK and UK regular sort of house life for the jungle.
I am. Along with my partner and 3 small children, I am moving into the Amazon rainforest for a year and a half. Specifically, get this right, we are landing. Pointer. All right, this is difficult because it's not mirrored. We're landing here in Georgetown, Guyana, traveling down the Essequibo River. Oh, sorry. Come with me. I'll give you a tour. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Guyana 101. This is Guyana. You'll see it labeled on this map as British Guyana. It's not British Guyana. It hasn't been British Guyana since the 60s. It's now just Guyana, and that's fine. It's not French Guiana, which is a different country. They don't even share a border. Guyana and Guyana, different. Okay, so we land here. We travel down the river to here-ish, where we will be doing 2.5 weeks of jungle survival training, which is going to be weird with a 1-year-old, but hey, that's all about what can and can't eat you and what you can and can't eat, and also how to not die from exposure. And then we are visiting various villages, which you'll see with green dots on them here. And then traveling down here into the nobody lives here because it's terrifying inhospitable jungle and there's no reason to live there area, which has been largely unexamined by Western science. And hopefully we can do some looking for Titan beetle larvae and also learning a lot from local people about how kids are born and raised in the jungle, which is the second piece of research that I'm interested in. On top of this, Phil, recently, we've also been invited out to the Serengeti and to the Northern Territories in Australia to do similar research, both the invertebrate side of things and the human child rearing side of things. If I can answer any questions on why the hell I'm moving into hammocks in the rainforest instead of beautiful, comfortable Cambridgeshire, I will do.
So Greg's way, he's totally jealous now, and Steve said that sounds awesome. Do you need someone to carry your bags?
I kind of want to say yes to that because I'm a bit worried about how much we're taking. We've tried our damnedest to be as light as possible, but okay, so here's the thing. We're going to be well outside the supply chain for fuel, which means if we want to carry on traveling by river, we have to either canoe, which would be fine if there were just 2 adults, but there's not. There's 2 adults and 3 small children who are going to be useless. I mean, when is a child ever useful? It's not that I don't like my children. It's just how useful are they? So I bought us a little electric outboard, which sounds great, but it weighs a ton. And it needs charging, which means you need solar panels, and they weigh a ton. And then you've suddenly got too much for a small boat, so you need a slightly bigger boat, and that weighs a ton. So yeah, having somebody carry my bags would be great. Thanks for the offer.
Well, sounds like you got actually a few offers there. Jackson said that yeah, he'll help too. Jackie wants to fight Steve for carrying the bags. because
game.
it's often sometimes you know a lot of our kind of almost like dream is like we'd love to go to the jungle or wherever, especially
Yeah.
those of us that keep in there sometimes to go and see whatever we keep in the wild and see how it lives in the wild and stuff. But not everyone's able to do that and stuff. And stuff. So it's like kind of like living a lot of people's dreams in a way. But I imagine there's a lot of stuff that goes into it that we would never even think about.
Well, one of them, Steve has just said, which is the anti-malarials. It's a big part of life. There are various anti-malarials. They all make you sick in different ways. I'm going to be staying away from Lariam, which is one I've used before, which makes you slightly psychotic, or at least takes away your ability to compromise and gives you horrible nightmares that you're not entirely sure are waking or sleeping. Awful. Malarone is good, but it's very expensive. Doxycycline is good, but it's not very effective in most of the world. And it knackers your liver slightly, which leads to photosensitization, which means if you get caught in the sun, you basically vampire and die. So yeah, choice of drugs. That's an interesting one. Okay, £2,000 spent on vaccinations. Serious thought put into health and fitness regime before going. How to teach my kids while I'm in a hammock. The local school were good enough to give me training. They've had me in there learning how to teach English and maths so that my kids are still up to speed when they come home. Also, getting local government permissions to visit these areas meant getting people to introduce me to tribal leaders who had no reason to speak to me, but did anyway because they're lovely. There's a year and a half of planning that's gone into this. We were very, 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 very lucky that a few years ago, I bought a Bitcoin and it was enough to knock off the end of our mortgage, which meant that we were expecting to be paying another couple of years of mortgage. And this is the exact same price-ish. Exact-ish. Well, let's say that. It's almost exactly the same price as a year of the mortgage. So we're coming out of this as basically zero cost, amazing expedition. Yeah. The other thing to be aware of is there's a lot of stuff out there that can hurt you. Everybody's familiar with the Brazilian wandering spider. You may not be familiar with the fer-de-lance and the bushmaster because you're bug people like myself. I wasn't aware of the fer-de-lance, which is a little viper that kills a lot of people every year.
Beautiful, though. Beautiful snakes.
Oh, lovely, Phil, I'm sure. Absolutely adorable while they're locked around your ankle. So there's been a lot of thought put into how do we protect ourselves? What are the behaviors? What's the kit? What are the drug options? Yeah, we put a lot of thought into this.
Well, with like the venomous snakes, are you like taking anything like venom defenders with you at all?
Venom Defender being one of those pressure things that sucks the venom out.
No, so I think it's Snake Professional. They do things. So it's like almost like big shin pad, like big shin pads and stuff, and special gloves that are more bite resistant and stuff if you're having to move stuff.
Yeah, so we've got. They really do sound like 90s rappers. You're absolutely right. Yeah, so we've got bite resistant gaiters, lower leg protection. I've got gloves, bite resistant gloves for the kids and myself. And I bought a machete because everybody needs a machete, but mine has a hook at the end, which is so I can turn over logs and look underneath them for bugs without using my hands, which hopefully will save me a couple of times.
Hey, Alice. So Alice has actually asked, are you going to be documenting the process?
Yeah. So there is a different Instagram for this, which is Wild Bradberries, based on
the link in.
Oh, thank you very much. Based on the Wild Thornberries, as you might imagine. My wife's name is Bradbury, so I think we can get away with it, right? Nickelodeon's not going to sue. Yeah, we will be video logging every day We won't be able to upload every day because we'll be well outside cell signal, and I'm not paying for satellite internet. But there will be dumps of information going onto that Instagram every now and then.
Well, Tron's also volunteering to carry stuff as well, as long as he can bring a camera and a black light.
So I have a problem here, right? So I've got my SLR, I've got my lovely Canon macro lens, fantastic. Can't take any of that. It's not waterproof, which means my entire camera system for the time I'm out there is this. I've never used a smartphone in my life, but I had to buy this, and I've been practicing with it, and it sucks compared to an SLR. But it's waterproof and it's light, which, considering that everything I've ever taken to a jungle has expired of humidity, including one of my mates from uni, I just can't take the SLR. And I'm pretty sure my UV light is going to die a death as well. But yeah, let me be serious about this then for a second. Anybody who wants to go to Guyana and experience the jungle should absolutely do so, right? The Woodland Trust are probably our best option here for carbon offsetting. So let's just not talk about carbon offsetting for a second. I know we should, but we're not going to. But experiencing the jungle is something everybody should do. And it's expensive, but it's also going to be amazing. And if you can find a way to sum up, let's say £3,000 ish. And find yourself 4 weeks free, you should do it. Living in jungles has been the best year and a bit all added together of my life. I highly recommend it.
So I'm guessing from that you sort of spent time in other jungles then before this. It's not like all completely new to
this
you
is
going
not
out.
this rodeo, no. When I was working as that head vet at the Chimp and Gorilla Sanctuary, the sanctuaries were in the middle of rainforests, in the West African rainforest. So I have lived at permanent camps there and at temporary camps there, and got very bitten by things traveling in between them, which was fine. My honeymoon was in the Australian rainforest, which sounds so romantic and natural. It was so hot that my recently betrothed and I could not touch more than fingertips. It was steamy in the wrong way is what it was, but it was also incredible. Metallic jumping spiders and so many interesting forms of crabs in the trees. Just awesome. So yeah, I thoroughly recommend a jungle. Oh.
So as the thought about Ed Stafford did something similar with Desert Island. So awesome seeing a little one filled with nature.
Mm-hmm. Ed Stafford's wife has helped us set up this expedition a little bit. She's one of our go-to advisors.
There you go.
Whose name, if you don't know it, is Ness Knight, and she should be more famous than he is. Although she's kind of a gun nut as well, which I find off-putting. Right.
And Jackson's boy, they used to never want to go back to jungles after jungle warfare training in Japan, but most definitely changed mind over the years.
Yeah. Talking of jungle warfare training, the fellow who's doing our survival course when we arrive is a person who trains special forces in jungle warfare. He's never trained children before, and when I mentioned that we might want to be a civvy crew with kids, his eyes just lit up. He's like, oh, yeah, I've always wanted to train children because soldiers, they always think they can fight the jungle. I don't know what accent I'm doing here. I was going for, he's Danish, right? But he's got a Guyanese accent and it's a bit Danish, whatever. Soldiers always try and fight the jungle, but they can never win. I think kids might just enjoy it and learn. So he's really excited about teaching kids. We'll see how that goes. Maybe they'll come out with little berets and rifles.
That's it. So going to expand this one. Someone's asked about what bugs are you most excited to see in Ghana? What kind of wildlife are you hoping to see out there?
Oh, that's such a question. Okay, so I am. Yeah. Oh, I mean, the world's largest the world's largest specimen of the world's largest snake was caught in Guyana. The world's largest centipede lives in Guyana, which, as you can tell, Phil, I'm so excited about. I'm really, really excited about the poison dart frogs. Dendrobates aureus and a couple of the little Rhenetomia thumbnail jobs live out there. I don't know what lives in the southern bit because nobody's bothered. No, nobody's bothered saying what's there. People who go there keep saying things like, "Oh, we never saw we've never read that this lives here." So clearly, the evidence is patchy as hell. I really want to know what's there. So I'm all about the frogs, and I really, really, really want to see either a Titan beetle or one of the big Harlequin longhorns.
Either of those would be absolutely awesome,
wouldn't it?
So yeah, seeing the dart frogs would be fantastic to see. Like, I keep dart frogs at work, but to see them in the wild and stuff would be something else. And so, and again, like seeing time. I mean, time eels are huge. So to see one of those in the wild again would be. And for me, I would love to see a Scolopendra gigantea.
Of course you would. Because you're a weirdo.
That would be amazing. Seems like, have you got any medics going with you? Let's just see as a medic.
That's very reasonable. I'm a primate vet, and my wife is a small animal vet with a focus in pharmacology. Between the two of us, I reckon we add up to a medic. Now, maybe we don't. We will also have telemedicine support from a UK wilderness telemedicine company. And if all else fails, we've got helicopter rescue insurance and a little satellite SOS button. So no, we don't have any medics going with us. Oh, that's not entirely true. One of my mates from work is a medic, and they want to come out and meet with us for a couple of weeks. So at some point we will have medical cover. The rest of the time we're kind of on our own. But we've each stitched each other up before, so hopefully we know what we're doing if it has to happen again.
That's kind of something important to highlight. Of like anyone who may be thinking of doing something, especially going to areas that haven't, people don't tend to go to. The importance of these little bits of equipment, so that if something goes wrong, you can be found.
Yeah. So on that topic, have I got them here? I bought my kids something, and I was kind of hoping I could show you, but I can't because I've hidden them away in the bags, ready to go. That's fine. For anybody who's ever been to a rainforest, who hasn't ever been to a rainforest, the visibility is less than you think. In short rainforest or jungle, just next to rivers, roads, glades, whatever, anywhere there's enough light, you can't see more than 3 or 4 meters. It's incredible. I wouldn't be able to see this door. And if your kids end up 10 meters away, you're never seeing them again. So I did the millennial thing, and I bought them all a Tile Pro, one of the little Bluetooth findy jobs. So now I can basically scan for them with my phone like it's a Geiger counter, which is great. And that works over about 80 meters. It's a bloody loud whistle and a torch. And they're going to be wearing these things on a ring around their neck on pain of death. If they take them off, I will shout at them. Maybe letting my fears bleed through a little bit there, but there are little things you absolutely want, including the fact that if you get lost, you stop moving, and everybody in the party is trained in just freeze. There are little things you really need. The other thing I thought I'd show you, Phil, is this is our supper catching kit.
Oh, let me just put that on big screen.
There you go. These are fish darts. They are widely used in South America, and I've never hit a fish with one of those. I've never tried. I don't really like killing animals, but if we get to the point where we can't find enough vegetable matter, I'm going to end up shooting piranhas with a funny little spiky thing. So yeah, wish me luck. Let's see how much weight I lose.
And again, again, another thing that perhaps a lot of people don't necessarily think about is you think, oh, you know, are you going to be living in a robot? Well, there's food everywhere, but actually, there may not be.
Yeah, the people who live there, right, can find food everywhere, and hopefully, after we've been out there for a while, we will be able to find that food everywhere if we are polite enough and good enough at listening and good enough at learning that people will actually share that information with us. But for the first 6 months, we are going to be clueless, and we will try our best to learn.
Well, yeah, I think what plants are safe and what plants aren't safe and stuff. Like, you know, sometimes what we think looks safe isn't necessarily safe and stuff. I mean, we know that just in sort of the UK sort of thing. Hey, Matt. So Jackie just asked about whether there's a Goliath fish out there, a giant catfish.
Oh, there are some pretty terrifying fish. The world's largest scaled freshwater fish lives out there, the arapaima. Then there's giant freshwater stingrays, all sorts. I'm hoping I don't get too close to any of them, personally. I'd like small things that I can eat, and nothing big enough to eat me.
Yeah, I would certainly rather be near piranha than arapaima.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They are seriously huge fish, and also the piranha are just far more likely to swim away from you.
Well, yeah, probably.
So, has anyone got any sort of last questions? Because Greg will soon have to depart from us, unfortunately. But when are you heading out to the jungle?
We fly on the 17th of April, and we'll be back in the UK July the year after, when I've got 6 months to prep for an Arctic expedition.
Oh, what are you doing in the Arctic?
Relaxing and watching the Northern Lights. It's nothing big. It's very much just.
I think after, that sort of length of time in the jungle, you probably go somewhere cold and just relax and not have to worry about things. It's probably going to be quite nice.
That's what I'm looking for. Relax, not move, get chilly. Loose wing. The bee holes. You want them at least. Well, okay. So the little ones, they want to be at least 6 centimeters deep. The big ones, basically, the deeper the better. But what is more important is that they're clean, right? Because sticky out bits of wood going down, they just won't use them. So put the drill in, reverse direction, take it out, put it in again, let it burn. You want it smooth and beautiful. Imagine you're trying to make it look as nice as it would if it had been bored by a beetle.
And Greswell, some awesome spiders out in that area too, and probably scorpions.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I will have a UV light. I'm looking forward to it.
And Lee says, "Good luck with your amazing expedition. You're living a fairy tale life."
Thank you, and I'm looking forward to it. And Steve, I have noticed your comments about learning emergency medicine. We have so I have the Oxford Handbook of Emergency Tropical Medicine, which I'm working my way through. I've also got 2 expedition doctors on speed dial. So I'm with you. Don't worry about us. But thank you.
That's cool. Yeah, guys always says have amazing trips and be safe, but have fun. I mean, is it essentially go make everyone jealous and try and say you're going to Northern Norway.
Of course, I'm going to Northern Norway. I'm going to Narvik. It's going to be brilliant.
Is that near you, Trond? Because Trond's in Norway.
Nice. So, the plan is land in Stockholm, take the train up past Luleå, past Abisko, into Narvik, and then have a nice time. Watch the lights, relax, drink cocktails.
That just sounds nice as well as yeah, it's been a nice long time in the jungle. So I think everyone there will be looking forward to seeing when you're able to post up various bits of information. I'll put your links back in the chat again for everyone to go and follow you on Instagram. So you can see. And what I'll have to say is obviously, when you are back and able to, we'll have to have you back onto the share. So for in about over a year and a half away, and the thing to have you back on to chat how it went.
I will bring back as many good bug experiences as I can. But let me leave you all with this. It's a bug experience that you don't have to learn anything from this. Just sit back and enjoy this very short story. I was once out with my UV torch in the jungle in Nigeria looking for scorpions. I didn't want to catch anything. I didn't really even want to photograph anything because I was rubbish with flash work and I just wanted to see stingy things. Then I realized that I was in an area well known for tailless whip scorpions, and I thought, ooh, maybe I'll find one of those. And then I saw one of those, and it scuttled into a hollow tree, and I thought, ooh, I will bet that that's not the only thing in there. I should have a look. Being as, I don't know, maybe I had some form of jungle fever, I didn't second guess myself and go, no, this is very stupid. What I did was stand up inside the kind of, it was the roots of a strangler fig type thing. The tree inside had rotted away a long time ago. Anyway, it was, I don't know, 1.5 meters wide. Stood up inside this thing, raised my head torch, and realized that the inside of it was basically black with tailless whip scorpions, which then immediately started going around. You know how they like to go sideways really, really fast? And I realized that I was inside a tornado of tailless whip scorpions. There must, if I'm being honest, there were probably 8, maybe 10, but it felt like hundreds, and they moved so fast. So I stood there freaking out for a second, then thought, it's fine. It's fine. I know these are harmless. I know I can't see anything else in here. But just for about 5 seconds, I was entirely made of adrenaline, black, fast-moving invertebrates, and more adrenaline. There we go. A little bit of absolute terror brought to you by not really understanding tailless whip scorpions.
The Steve's now calling it Whipnado.
No, it should be a film, shouldn't it?
That literally is like that could be the next franchise thing. Whipnado films of tornadoes of tailless whip scorpions. I mean, I'd watch it.
Yeah, well, watch it and repeat.
But again, that just sounds absolutely amazing as well. And I think it just goes to say we sometimes need to just remember to even sometimes ourselves here in the UK in your gardens or wherever, just take a moment just to sometimes just stop what you do and just watch
experience. Yeah, so
and
true.
Just actually just sit back and just watch something, whether it's a bush or a fence with some stuff or whatever, just those 5-10 minutes. And I do it, and it does the world of good.
Yeah,
it does you so much good just to take those 5-10 minutes. It doesn't have to be long, and just observe.
I'm going to leave you folks there with that exact thought. Find 5 minutes now and then to just experience and watch bugs. You'll get so much out of it.
Well, thank you for coming on, Greg. I'm sure everyone did, but I'm hoping everyone enjoyed that. And so, for those who don't know, I will be joining Scott tomorrow on his channel. Interviewing a colleague of mine from another zoo. So do join me and Scott for that tomorrow night. And my next video will be out on Wednesday. Then obviously one on Sunday as well. And doing on Sunday, this coming Sunday will be the Taunton Southwestern Invert Show. I'll be there. Leah will be there. A few of us will be there. So if you're going, do come and say hi to us and stuff. I'll have a few things for sale on the table and stuff. But yeah, till next time, guys. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Greg, and we'll say